Episode 1. The Hollow Creek Bridge. In a small town in Kentucky, there stands an old wooden bridge crossing a narrow stream known as Hollow Creek. When the wind passes through, the bridge groans as if it's breathing, as if something beneath it is crying. Locals say that on nights without a moon, if you stand on that bridge long enough, you'll hear a baby crying from under the water. They say the story began more than 70 years ago. In 1953, a young woman named Evelyn Moore was pregnant with her first child. She lived alone in a small cabin near the woods. Her husband, a coal miner, had gone missing months earlier after a cave-in. One rainy night, Evelyn got into her car to visit her cousin across town, but she never made it there. The next morning, her car was found parked beside the Hollow Creek Bridge. The headlights were still on. The door was open. Muddy footprints led to the edge of the bridge and stopped there. 3 days later, Evelyn's body was discovered downstream. Her eyes were wide open, staring blankly into nothing. Her hair was tangled with mud, and in her arms she clutched a torn baby blanket, as if she'd never let go. But the baby was never found. No trace, no clue. Only the quiet water below and the bridge above it, standing still as if guarding a secret. From that day on, people began calling it Evelyn's Bridge. They believed her spirit lingered beneath, a mother still searching for her child, who never saw the light of day. Years passed. The legend of Hollow Creek became a story whispered around campfires and classrooms. Teenagers dared each other to cross the bridge at midnight. Travelers stopped to take pictures. Some said it was just an old folk tale. Others swore that when they stopped their engines in the middle of the bridge, the silence around them grew so thick it felt like even the wind refused to breathe. 70 years later, 4 college students studying media and film decided to make a documentary about haunted places in the southern United States. Their first episode would feature Hollow Creek Bridge. Their names were Liam, Sarah, Dylan, and Rachel. Sarah was the one with the camera, fascinated by urban legends. Liam loved adventure and had a reckless streak. Dylan handled the audio, and Rachel, quiet, cautious, only came along because she didn't want to leave her friends out there alone at night. By the time they arrived, the sun had set. The bridge stood before them like a scar cutting through the woods. They set up camp near the edge, preparing their equipment. The night was eerily still. Sarah joked, "If we actually record the baby crying, this video's gonna blow up online." Her laugh faded quickly into the dark. Around 11 p.m., Dylan placed the recorder close to the water, while Liam shone his flashlight along the bridge's railings. The wood was cracked, weathered, and wet. Then, from somewhere below came a faint sound, a soft cry, thin and distant. It was unmistakably a baby's cry. Rachel froze. "Did you guys hear that?" she whispered. No one answered. Sarah raised her camera toward the creek. The flashlight beam wavered, landing on something pale drifting just beneath the surface. Then slowly, a small hand surfaced, pale, wet, and trembling, gripping the edge of the bridge. Liam stepped forward instinctively. Thinking someone had fallen in, he reached down to pull them up. His fingers touched something cold, not flesh, but a handful of soaked black hair. And then, out of the dark water, a woman's face emerged. Her skin was as white as candle wax. Her hair clung to her face. Her eyes, wide, empty, unblinking, stared straight into his. Water dripped from her mouth as it opened slightly, and in a broken whisper she said, "Where's my baby?" Sarah screamed. The camera fell into the stream. Liam stumbled backward, but the woman's hand latched onto his wrist, pulling him toward the water. Dylan rushed to grab him, and both of them toppled to the ground. Rachel ran, her scream echoing through the trees. The next morning, locals reported an abandoned car by the bridge. Police arrived to find the campsite intact, tents, backpacks, and two young women sitting by the roadside, trembling and unable to speak. Liam and Dylan were never found. Divers recovered the camera from the creek. When investigators played the final footage, it was blurry and shaking, water distorting every frame. For a few seconds, a wet hand appeared on the lens, then darkness. Just before the video ended, a whisper could be heard, a woman's voice, soft, almost tender. "I found my baby." After that night, the Hollow Creek Bridge was closed off. A warning sign still stands there today. Yet, on rainy nights, people in town swear they can hear a lullaby drifting from the water. A woman's voice, humming beneath the sound of the stream. No one crosses the bridge after sunset anymore. They say Evelyn Moore is still there, a mother who never left her child. And maybe now, she's not searching anymore. Maybe she's already found someone to replace it. Episode 2. The Portrait in Room 217. After the incident at the gate, Anna couldn't sleep for days. Every night, the echo of that distant cry haunted her, like a ghost, whispering through the dark corridors of her mind. She began to feel the presence of something unseen watching her, from the corners of her room, from the hallway outside her door, from behind the fogged windows of the old inn. One evening, when the power flickered and the rain fell like nails against the roof, Anna decided to explore the upper floor of the inn, a place her aunt had strictly forbidden her to enter. The wooden stairs groaned beneath her feet, each step echoing through the quiet building. The air was thick with the smell of dust and mold. At the end of the hallway, she noticed a door slightly open, room 217. She hesitated for a moment, her heart racing, before gently pushing it open. Inside, the room looked abandoned, untouched for decades. Cobwebs clung to the ceiling fan, and the wallpaper had peeled off like old skin. On the wall above the fireplace hung a large portrait of a woman. Her face was pale, her eyes dark and distant. Something about that expression froze Anna in place. The woman's gaze felt alive, almost as if she were looking straight into Anna's soul. A sudden gust of wind blew through the cracked window, and the door behind her slammed shut. Startled, Anna turned around. But when she looked back at the portrait, her blood ran cold. The woman's head in the painting had turned slightly, now facing Anna directly. Anna stumbled backward, her hands trembling. "No, it's just a trick of the light," she whispered, forcing herself to believe it. But when she blinked, she noticed something else. The painted woman's lips were curved into the faintest, most chilling smile. Panicking, Anna tried to open the door, but it wouldn't budge. Her heart pounded as whispers filled the air, faint at first, then clearer. They came from behind the walls, from under the floor, from inside the painting itself. "Why did you come here?" a soft, sorrowful voice murmured. Anna turned back toward the portrait. The woman's eyes were now weeping, thin black tears streaming down her painted cheeks. The voice spoke again, more desperate this time. "Set me free." Then, without warning, the entire painting began to ripple, as if the surface of the canvas were made of water. A cold hand, pale and slender, slowly reached out from within the frame, grasping the air toward Anna. She screamed and threw herself against the door with all her strength. It finally burst open, and she stumbled into the hallway. The moment she looked back, The portrait was gone. Only an empty, cracked wall remained. That night, Anna didn't sleep. She sat awake until dawn, the sound of distant weeping echoing faintly through the inn. In the morning, when she told her aunt what had happened, the old woman grew pale. Her hands shook as she whispered, "Room 217 has been locked for over 30 years. The woman in that portrait, she was the previous owner. She died there, and no one ever found her body." From that day on, Anna avoided the second floor entirely, but every now and then, when the night grew silent and the wind whispered through the halls, she could still hear that soft, pleading voice from somewhere far above. "Set me free." Episode 3. The Box Beneath the Floor. After the night she saw the portrait in room 217, Anna tried to forget everything. She told herself it was just an illusion, a cruel trick of the mind brought on by fear. But deep down, she knew something in that house was terribly wrong. In the nights that followed, strange noises returned. Soft footsteps echoed from the attic above. Faint knocking came from beneath her floor, rhythmic and deliberate, as if someone were trying to signal her. Every time she turned on the light, the sounds vanished. One afternoon, while cleaning her room, Anna noticed a small crack between the floorboards near the wall. It was dusty, but something seemed hidden underneath. Using a fruit knife, she pried the boards open. After a few minutes, she uncovered an old wooden box buried beneath the dust. It was small, covered in mold, the metal lock rusted tight. But what made her shiver were the deep scratches along the lid, like someone had once tried to claw it open. She carried it to the table and wedged the knife into the lock. With a loud snap, it broke open. A foul, metallic smell filled the air. Inside lay a faded diary, a tarnished silver charm, and a yellowed letter. Anna unfolded the letter with trembling hands. The writing was hurried, desperate. "If anyone finds this box, do not open it. What's inside killed us all. Do not wake it." Her pulse quickened. She opened the diary. The first pages were normal entries from a woman named Margaret, the previous owner of the inn, the same woman from the portrait in room 217. But as she read on, the handwriting grew uneven, frantic. "I hear the whisper every night. It's beneath the floor. It wants me to open it. I locked it away, but the voice won't stop. I saw a hand reaching out of the dark. Its nails scratched my leg. I know it's still here." Anna's breath grew heavy. The wind howled through the cracked window, stirring the curtains. Then, knock, knock, knock. 3 distinct taps echoed from the exact spot where she'd found the box. She froze. A chill crept up her spine. Could there still be something under there? She knelt down and peered through the narrow gap in the floor. It was pitch black. Then, from within that darkness, a frail whisper floated up, weak but clear. "Give it back." Anna stumbled backward, dropping the box. The silver charm inside clattered to the floor, letting out a sharp, metallic ring. And instantly, the knocking stopped. Silence filled the room, thick and absolute. Panicked, Anna fled. When she turned back, the box was closed again, its rusty lock sealed, as if it had never been touched. That night, she buried the box deep in the backyard, beneath the oldest tree. But just as she finished covering it with soil, a cold wind blew past, and from below the ground came a faint, hollow laugh, distant, but unmistakably real. "You think you can hide me?" Terrified, Anna ran back into the house. She didn't dare look outside again. But later, from her bedroom window, she could see a faint glimmer in the yard, the silver charm, half buried, catching the moonlight like a single watching eye, staring straight at her through the dark. Episode 4. The Attic. After burying the box, Anna thought everything was finally over, but from that night on, the house no longer felt the same. The air grew colder, heavier with the stench of damp wood, and sometimes she could hear slow, dragging footsteps coming from the attic, a place no one had dared to enter for years. Whenever Anna asked about it, her Aunt Ruth would avoid her gaze and reply, "That place is sealed. No one goes up there, Anna. No one." But curiosity has a way of overpowering fear. One stormy night, as thunder drowned out the world outside, Anna decided to climb the attic stairs. The wooden ladder creaked with every step. The small trap door at the top was secured with an old iron latch, but with one hard pull, it snapped open. A wave of cold, stale air rushed out, carrying the smell of decay. Her flashlight flickered weakly, illuminating a space thick with dust and cobwebs. In the middle of the room stood a wooden cradle, old, fragile, and blanketed in grime. Anna moved closer. Inside the cradle lay a rag doll, torn and faded, its stitched face worn away until only 2 hollow eye sockets remained. Yet somehow, it was gently rocking back and forth, even though the air was still. Anna froze. Then from somewhere in the shadows came a soft lullaby, a woman's voice, tender and sorrowful. "Hush, little one. Go to sleep." Her heart raced. She swept her flashlight across the room, but the voice continued, soft, almost like a whisper from the walls. Suddenly, the doll's head tilted to one side, and from its mouth, where the red stitching had split open, came a low, rasping voice. "Why did you wake it?" Anna screamed and dropped the flashlight. The beam spun wildly across the ceiling, revealing dozens of small black handprints smeared across the rafters. Like the hands of children reaching down, she stumbled backward, but when she turned to the door, it slammed shut on its own. The attic fell into complete darkness. Then came the sound. A baby crying, faint at first, then closer, closer. Anna covered her ears, trembling. Suddenly the crying stopped, and in that silence, a whisper brushed against her ear. "Mama, I'm cold." She spun around. No one was there. The flashlight rolled across the floor, its beam stopping at the cradle. The doll was gone. Anna bolted to the door, pounding on it until it finally gave way. She fled down the stairs, her breath ragged, and behind her echoed a sound she would never forget. The giggling of a child, sweet yet colder than ice. The next morning, Aunt Ruth found the attic door wide open, and Anna sitting in a corner, her eyes wide and vacant. The old woman quietly closed the trap door, locked it again, and whispered, "I warned you. Never go up there." That night, as the wind howled over the hills, Anna heard it again, the same lullaby drifting through the darkness. "Hush, little one. Go to sleep." And this time, the voice was coming from just outside her bedroom door. Episode 5. The Mirror of Aunt Ruth. After the incident in the attic, Anna lived in constant fear. She could barely sleep, lying awake each night listening to the smallest sounds, the wind whistling through the cracks, the floorboards creaking, the steady drip of water from the old bathroom faucet. Every noise, no matter how faint, made her skin crawl. Aunt Ruth still looked after her kindly, but Anna began to notice something strange. Her aunt was hiding something. Some nights Anna heard Ruth's footsteps going upstairs, followed by low whispers, as if she were speaking to someone in the dark. One morning, as Anna came down to the kitchen, she saw an old mirror on the table, its silver frame intricately carved, coated in a thick layer of dust. Ruth was carefully polishing it, her expression unusually tense. Anna asked, "Auntie, where did that mirror come from?" Ruth froze. Her eyes flickered with unease. "It belonged to my mother, and you mustn't touch it, Anna. That mirror is not ordinary." She draped a heavy cloth over the glass and carried it upstairs to her room. But all day long, Anna couldn't stop thinking about it. There was something about the silver sheen beneath that cloth, something that felt alive, almost calling to her. That night, unable to resist her curiosity, Anna crept out of her room. Moonlight spilled across the hallway, glinting through the half-open door of Aunt Ruth's room. Inside, the mirror stood uncovered. Anna stepped closer. Her breath caught in her throat. The reflection didn't show Ruth's bedroom at all. Instead, it revealed a decaying old room filled with shadows. In the center stood a woman in a white dress facing away, her long dark hair hanging down to her waist. Anna froze. Then the figure in the mirror slowly turned around. Her skin was pale as wax, her eyes hollow and black, and her lips twisted into a faint, unnatural smile. "Anna." The whisper came from inside the mirror. Anna's blood ran cold. Suddenly, the door burst open. Aunt Ruth shouted, "Don't look at it!" She threw the cloth over the mirror. The glass trembled violently, cracks spreading like veins across the surface. A chilling wind swept through the room, knocking over furniture and slamming the window open. When it finally stopped, Ruth collapsed into a chair, her face pale with terror. "I tried to keep it from you," she said, voice trembling. "That mirror belonged to my mother. She believed that the souls of the dead could appear through it. But one day, when she tried to summon her husband, something else came instead." Her gaze shifted toward the covered mirror. "Since then, anyone who looks into it sees the darkest part of themselves, and they never come back the same." Anna was speechless, but what terrified her most was the memory of that final moment before Ruth covered the mirror. The reflection had shown a tall, thin figure standing behind her in the hallway, staring straight through the cracked glass. That night, Anna avoided every mirror in the house. But as she passed her dressing table, a faint glimmer caught her eye. She looked, just for an instant. Her reflection was smiling back at her, but her lips hadn't moved. Episode 6, The Room Beneath the Floor. After the incident with Aunt Ruth's mirror, Anna was no longer the same. The once lively girl had turned quiet and withdrawn, haunted by things she could not explain. Aunt Ruth, too, seemed to fade, her face pale, her eyes sunken, as if each night drained her of life itself. One foggy morning, as weak sunlight slipped through the curtains, Anna heard a strange sound coming from beneath the floor, a dragging noise, slow and heavy. She followed it to the corner of the living room, where an old rug lay thick with dust. When she pulled it back, she found a wooden hatch. A small iron handle protruded from it, rusted and cold. Her heart pounded, but curiosity pushed her forward. She grabbed a flashlight, lifted the hatch, and descended the creaking wooden stairs that led into darkness. The air below was damp and icy, thick with the stench of mold and rust. Every step echoed through the narrow space. The beam of her flashlight flickered across cracked walls, casting long, twisting shadows that seemed to move on their own. At the bottom, Anna reached a metal door. Its lock was old and corroded. When she turned it, the door groaned open, and a wave of decay washed over her, foul and suffocating. Inside was a small, windowless room. A single wooden table sat in the middle, covered with dust and a few leather-bound journals. On the walls were dozens of black and white photographs. All of Aunt Ruth, taken at different ages, in the same setting, but in every photo, a faint, dark figure stood behind her, and with each passing year, that shadow drew closer. Anna's hand trembled as she opened one of the journals. The handwriting was uneven, desperate. "It won't leave me. I've tried to run, but it always finds me. Every time I look into the mirror, it's closer. It says one day, it will need someone new." The final page was smeared with dried blood. Just 4 words were written there. "The room beneath." Anna dropped the book, panic rising in her throat. Her flashlight flickered, sputtered, and then in the brief flashes of light, she saw it. In the far corner stood a tall, thin figure. Its skin was waxy white, its eyes hollow and black. It didn't move. It only stared at her. Anna screamed and bolted up the stairs. When she burst into the living room, Aunt Ruth was already there, her face pale and horrified. "You went down there, didn't you?" she whispered. Anna nodded, tears streaming down her face. Ruth sank into a chair, shaking. "I locked it away 30 years ago. That thing, it feeds on fear, on guilt. I trapped it down there to keep it from spreading. But now, it's found someone new." Anna's voice broke. "What do you mean?" Ruth's eyes filled with despair. "From the moment you opened that door, it chose you." Outside, the sky darkened suddenly. Wind howled through the old house, carrying a faint, eerie laughter. On the wall, the mirror shimmered, and in it, Anna saw her reflection, smiling back at her. But she wasn't smiling. Then, from beneath the floorboards, came the sound of footsteps. Slow, heavy, climbing upward. Episode 7. The Visitor in the Rain. 3 days after opening the hatch beneath the floor, Anna felt like a ghost of herself. Every night, she heard slow, deliberate footsteps beneath the wooden boards, pacing, waiting. Aunt Ruth barely left her room anymore. She was pale, weak, her voice fading into a raspy whisper. That afternoon, the rain came, heavy and endless. It battered the windows, howling through the cracks of the old house. Anna sat in the living room, trying to distract herself with a book, when she heard it. 3 knocks at the front door. Slow, hollow, cutting through the sound of the storm. She froze. Then, cautiously, she walked to the door. Through the fogged glass, she saw a tall, thin man wearing a dark hat. His face was hidden in shadow, but his eyes, 2 bottomless black voids, seemed to pierce right through the glass. Anna's voice trembled. "Can I help you?" The man tilted his head slightly. His voice was deep and cold as the rain itself. "I'm looking for Mrs. Ruth." An old acquaintance, despite the unease twisting in her stomach. Anna stepped aside and let him in. The scent of rain and something faintly metallic followed him. He sat near the fireplace, removing his hat. His skin was unnaturally pale, his hair streaked with gray, his expression unreadable. "Mrs. Ruth still lives here, doesn't she?" he asked, his eyes flicking toward the mirror on the wall. Anna nodded. "Yes, I'll go get her." She started up the stairs, but before she could call out, Ruth's trembling voice came from above. Who's down there?" "A man," Anna called back. "He says he knows you." There was silence. Then Ruth's voice broke, sharp, terrified. "No one comes for me anymore. Anna, that's not a man." Anna's blood ran cold. She turned back toward the living room. The chair by the fire was empty. The man was gone. Only wet footprints remained on the floor, leading straight toward the mirror. She stepped closer. The glass was fogged, but in the center a handprint appeared. Long, bony fingers pressed against the inside of the mirror. Beneath it, faint letters began to form, as if traced from within. "He is coming." A sound echoed from the hallway. Anna spun around. The man was standing at the foot of the stairs, head slightly bowed, eyes hollow and lifeless. She tried to scream, but no sound came out. Her limbs locked in place as he began walking toward her, each step echoing like a hammer on a coffin. Then, suddenly, Aunt Ruth appeared, clutching a small glass vial filled with thick, black liquid. "Get away from her!" She hurled the vial. It shattered against the man's chest, releasing a dark smoke that filled the air. The stench of sulfur burned Anna's throat. The man let out a low, inhuman scream before dissolving into nothing. Ruth collapsed, gasping for air. "It wasn't human," she whispered. "That thing was what I sealed beneath the house." But that was only a piece of it. Anna knelt beside her, tears streaking down her face. "Then where's the rest of it?" Ruth turned her gaze toward the rain-soaked window. "Out there, waiting, in the dark." "And Anna?" Her voice faltered. "You opened the way." A flash of lightning illuminated the glass. For an instant, Anna saw their reflections, hers and Ruth's. But behind them stood a tall, grinning figure, its teeth jagged like broken glass. Then the light vanished. The room fell into darkness. And from deep beneath the floor came the sound of footsteps again, slow, deliberate, climbing upward. Episode 8. The Face Behind the Window. Since that cursed night of the storm, Anna hadn't slept properly. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the pale man smiling through the rain, his face flickering behind the lightning, pressed against the glass. Aunt Ruth grew weaker by the day, scribbling frantically in her old journals with shaky hands. One morning, Ruth called out to her, "Anna, you have to leave this house." Her voice was faint, barely audible, but her eyes burned with fear. "That thing is no longer trapped. It's searching for someone to replace me, someone to hold it back." Anna shook her head, tears filling her eyes. "No, you're all I have left. I'm not leaving you." Ruth's fingers tightened around Anna's hand. "If you stay, it will take you. Go before night falls." But as the sun set, the rain returned, heavier than before, endless and furious. The windows rattled under the storm's weight. Through the roar of the wind, Anna heard something else. A whisper, soft, lingering. Coming from the yard, she turned to the window. Out in the gray rain stood a figure, motionless, silent, half-shrouded in shadow. The face was hidden, but Anna could feel its gaze piercing through the storm. She backed away, heart pounding. Ruth appeared behind her, trembling. "Don't look outside, Anna." "But there's someone out there." Ruth's eyes widened with terror. "It's not someone. It's testing you, to see if you're afraid." The whisper came again, louder this time. "Anna." The voice was wet, distorted, like it was bubbling up from underwater. Anna felt an invisible pull drawing her closer to the window. Her fingers lifted on their own. When she touched the glass, a freezing chill shot up her arm. The rain blurred, and suddenly she saw her own reflection smiling back at her. Only she wasn't smiling. The reflection grinned wider, lips stretching too far, eyes sinking into hollow black pits. Anna screamed and stumbled back. A long crack split across the window, and from it oozed a thick black liquid that smelled of rust and decay. Ruth grabbed her shoulders, shouting, "Up to the attic, now!" They raced up the stairs as the house groaned around them. Doors slammed open one by one. The wind howled, carrying with it faint, rasping laughter. In the attic, Ruth bolted the door and pulled an old wooden box from the closet. Inside was a wax doll, its face cracked, its eye sockets empty. "This is the only way to hold it back," she whispered, voice trembling. "We must seal it inside, as my mother once did." She pricked her finger and let a drop of blood fall onto the doll. Immediately, the wind shrieked. The light bulbs flickered violently. From the shattered window came a piercing scream, and the pale face appeared again, clearer than ever. "No one can hide me anymore." The shadow burst through the glass, sending shards flying. Ruth raised her voice over the chaos. "Anna, repeat after me!" And together, they chanted strange, broken words. The shadow howled, writhing as it was sucked toward the glowing doll. The attic shook, the air grew thick, and then suddenly silence. When Anna opened her eyes, Ruth lay beside her, weak and barely breathing. The wax doll sat motionless on the floor, its hollow eyes staring upward. Ruth reached for Anna's hand, whispering, "I've sealed it, but I don't know for how long." Lightning flashed across the broken window, and for just an instant, Anna saw her reflection in the shards of glass. But the eyes staring back at her weren't hers. Outside, the rain began again, heavier, louder, as if someone was knocking on the door once more. Episode 9. The Doll That Breathes. After that horrific night, the house fell silent. The rain had stopped, but the chill lingered, clinging to every wall, every corner, like a presence that refused to leave. Anna sat beside Aunt Ruth's bed. The old woman barely breathed now, her skin pale and thin as paper. On the floor lay the wax doll, motionless, its empty eye sockets staring straight up at the ceiling. Anna couldn't look away. Even with the windows sealed and curtains drawn, she felt something, as though unseen eyes were watching her, maybe from outside, or worse, from somewhere within the house itself. That night, she finally drifted into an uneasy sleep. In the middle of the night, a sound woke her. Soft, almost human, a breath. Shallow, slow, close to her ear. She opened her eyes. The room was dark, lit only by a flickering candle. She turned to Ruth. The woman was still asleep, her chest barely rising. Then came the sound again. Inhale, exhale. From the direction of the doll, Anna's blood turned to ice. She slowly rose from her chair and stepped closer. The candle flame danced wildly, throwing the doll's shadow onto the wall, long and distorted, as if it were sitting up. She whispered, trembling, "What are you?" A faint cracking sound answered her, like something breaking beneath the surface. A thin fracture spread across the doll's waxed cheek. From within the crack, a human eye, wet, alive, slowly opened and stared at her. Anna screamed and stumbled backward. The candle went out. The room was swallowed by darkness. Then Ruth's frail voice broke through the silence. "Anna, listen to me. Don't break the seal. If you've seen it, you must leave this place, tonight." But Anna didn't move. She couldn't. Footsteps echoed softly. Tap, tap, tap. Tiny, deliberate steps crossing the wooden floor. She fumbled for her flashlight. The doll was gone. Ruth's eyes opened wide in terror. "It's too late." From the head of the bed came the faint creak of movement. The doll was sitting there, its small hands gripping the blanket. Now it had two human eyes, darting side to side, fixed on Ruth. Ruth screamed, "No! You can't take me again!" The doll tilted its head, its lips twisting into a crooked smile. Then a voice came, not that of a child, but a man's voice, deep, hoarse, and wet. "You promised to keep me forever, Ruth." The wind howled outside. The window burst open, the curtains flapping violently. The room turned freezing cold, a deathly chill that crept into Anna's bones. She lunged forward to pull her aunt away, but an unseen force threw her backward. The doll climbed onto Ruth's chest. Its eyes glowed faintly in the dark. Ruth screamed once, a sound that curdled the air, then went still. When Anna crawled forward, her hands shaking, Aunt Ruth was gone. Her body lay limp, and on the doll's face were her eyes. Tears streamed down Anna's face. She cradled Ruth's body and whispered, "I'm sorry, I couldn't save you." Then, faintly, she heard a whisper coming from the doll's mouth. "Anna, I'm still here." Her breath hitched. The doll's wax lips were moving. A tear, real and warm, rolled down its cheek. Outside, thunder cracked. The bedroom door slammed shut on its own, click, locking itself. And in the darkness, Aunt Ruth's voice, or something using her voice, whispered, "Now it's your turn, Anna." The doll turned its head toward her and began to laugh.